you're going to get sick. The qadr comes down, so you're going to get sick. Your dua goes up. In the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, your dua goes up. And it meets the qadr halfway between the heavens and the earth. If the dua is stronger than the qadr, it fights it off. And there is no qadr, bad qadr there. If the dua is equal with the qadr, then the Prophet ﷺ says, يَتَصَارَعَانِ إِلَى يَوْمِ الْقِيَامَةِ. They will wrestle until the last hour. And the qadr will not come to you, nor will the dua fight it away. And if the dua is weak, the qadr will reach you, but weaker than it was before. So if you are going to be afflicted with a bad illness, it will rather be hard than you will get a simple sickness, such as a flu, for example, instead of a major virus, instead of cancer, for example. This is why the Prophet ﷺ used to say in the dua, Allahumma hdina fi man hadayt, wa afina fi man afayt, wa tawallana fi man tawallayt, wa barik lana fi ma a'tayt, waqina wasrif anna sharra ma qadayt. He says, Oh Allah, guide us to the right path, and so on, until he reaches the point where he says, and prevent the bad things of which you have preordained upon us. So the dua has to be against the preordainment of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. These are one of the ways that harm is prevented from you by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Sorry, this is the only way that the qadr is returned. There is of course one more way which I forgot to tell you. And it's similar to the dua, and that is the sadaqah. As-sadaqah taqi masari as-su'. When you give sadaqah, it also prevents bad misfits from happening. So there's the second one as well. Brothers and sisters in Islam, when a person makes dua, you are not allowed to make partners with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in your dua. Some Muslims, they think that they are making dua properly, but they are in fact making shirk in their dua, and this is one of the reasons why your dua is not accepted. For example, some people in their dua, they call upon the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. How? They say, Oh Allah, I ask you through your messenger Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Or they say, Oh Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, Oh Muhammad, in your love I ask Allah. Oh Muhammad, through your love ask Allah for me. This is all called intercession. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam has died, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, and he cannot benefit anymore. This is haram. This is haram intercession. If the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam was alive, yes, you can ask him to make dua for you and it is alright. But the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam can no longer benefit. And if you ask Allah through the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam like that, you are making a haram intercession. You can say, Oh Allah, if you know that I love your messenger, or if you know that I have followed your messenger, then respond to me. You're allowed to ask like that, because you are still asking Allah alone. They're not saying, Oh Allah, through your messenger. Some people, when they make dua, they mention their shaykh's name in their dua. Oh my Lord, in the love of CD so-and-so, my shaykh so-and-so. This is also intercession. It's haram. What's the difference between that and a person who goes to the priest? So we have to ask Allah mukhlisin, sincere only to Him. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, wallahi brothers and sisters, every time I talk about this subject, I remember all the supplications I made to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala when I was younger and when I was older. Every one of them got responded to, whether early or later. But wallah, I even asked superficial things, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala did respond to them. This type of a dua, it gives a person a higher iman, and it makes you feel the presence of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Lastly, I would like to talk about the dua of fear and the dua of when you are really in need of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah responds to you especially when you are in need. And I've mentioned here 6 or 7 ways or 7 times that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala responds to your dua and it will never be rejected. Number 1, immediately after the salat al-fard, immediately after the compulsory prayer, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala responds to the dua. The only difference is that the Prophet ﷺ did not lift his arms up after the Farad Salah. But he used to make dua after the prayer. The Farad Salah, Allah responds. Number 2, in the last third of the night, the Thuluth al-Akhir min al-Layl, the last third of the night before Fajr, Allah responds. In the hadith it says Allah descends to the first sky and He calls out specially, who is there asking me so I may respond to him? Who is there supplicating to me so I may respond to his call? Number 3, the dua of the oppressed. If you are oppressed by someone mazloom, then the dua al-mazloom, the dua of the oppressed is accepted. Someone wronged you and they did a dua against you. Someone wronged you and you did if you wronged someone and they did a dua against you, you're in big trouble. Alaykum as-salam. The dua, there is an hour during a Friday in which the dua is also accepted. We don't know which hour it is, but there is an hour during the Friday which the Jumu'ah, when your dua is also accepted according to the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ. The dua of a person who is afraid, fear, the dua of fear, when you're afraid of something, you make dua, Allah responds. And the dua of the needy, when you are extremely in need, Allah responds to your dua. And the dua of the traveler who is on a travel, his dua or her dua is also accepted. This is something specific.